Hello, welcome back to Oracle DBA tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss about server processes. So if you remember in the last videos, we discussed about different types of Oracle processes, and then we divided those processes into three types. And then the first type is something called server process, second one is background process, third one is slave process. In this video, we are going to deal in detail with the server process. And what happens is that so this is whenever a new client comes and connect, then the client is going to create a dedicated server process in the Oracle server, and this dedicated server process is going to represent this client. That means whenever this client is going to submit some kind of SQL statement or PL/SQL blocks and so on, then this dedicated server process is going to take care of this commands. Okay, so this is how it is going to work. So essentially what happens is that this client can be either in this machine or this client can be in another machine. And what Oracle gives you a Oracle client software, and which contain different types of libraries, and one of those library is called Oracle Net. So Oracle Net is a library which is a network library that is going to be sit in client, and that is going to bundle the commands and then send over the network to the dedicated server. And dedicated server process will also have a client library which is called Oracle Net, which will understand this bundled package and unbundle them and then give them to the dedicated server to execute or to run or to interpret. So that is called Oracle Net software. Okay, Oracle Net software basically is part of this stays here in the client side and part of this stays in the server side. So having said that, and then so whenever a client comes, and then we have a dedicated server, and then again another client too from some another machine, and then that when disconnect, we will have another dedicated server process which is going to interact with the SGA like this. So as we in a dedicated server mode, as the number of clients goes increasing, the number of dedicated server also go increasing. So that means I have a one-to-one mapping between the client and the dedicated server. Then this may not be a good idea, like whenever we have a lot of clients, and then remember that this dedicated server process is going to take something what is called PGA, program global area, right? So basically and then as the number of dedicated server process keeps increasing, then we might be we might have a problem in terms of memory in the system. We may not have enough memory to support so many number of dedicated server, which in turn so many number of clients. So therefore what Oracle comes up with a new architecture. Instead of having a one-to-one mapping, let's have many clients talk to a shared server, and that is how this iteration come. In this iteration, what we have in the client one comes, and then we have a dispatcher, but dispatcher is just a simple process and doesn't take much memory. But instead of one dedicated server, we have a shared server, and this shared server may be configured to handle say 5 clients. So this is client 2, client 3, client 4, client 5. So all of them are connected to the server, and then all of them have a dispatcher. Say this is dispatcher 1, this is dispatcher 2, 3, 4, 5, because 5 clients, so 5 dispatchers. But they're all putting their request in the request queue, and then that request, then only one shared server is going to represent all this client in the server. That means whatever commands and all those things they are giving, those things are coming to the request queue and then put on the queue, and then shared server is going to look at that queue and then retrieve a command and execute and put that response in the response queue. Then all these dispatcher processes are listening to this response queue. Whenever there are results available, then they take that results and then give it back to the client. So this is how it is going to work in the shared server. And in the shared server, what we achieved is that instead of one-to-one mapping, we have multiple clients, one shared server. So therefore the memory requirement is going to drastically reduced. All right. So that is why we use shared server. So basically it depends on how you configure dedicated server or shared server, but it's just the same. So now we will learn, like say for example, what this what this shared server or dedicated server do. Okay, so what they do, like what this process. Let's take an example of a statement. Like let's say I want to run, my client wants to run this PL/SQL procedure. So when we are running this PL/SQL procedure, so this comes to the dedicated server process, right? And then I'm just assuming that I'm running on a dedicated server mode. So therefore each client will have its own dedicated server in the server. So now let's say this command is through oracle.net software. It is bundled and is unbundled at the dedicated server, and the first thing dedicated server is going to do is going to parse if this thing is syntactically correct or not. And then it says that okay, I want to going to run a SQL statement, right? So an SQL statement then is going to create a cursor and all this thing, right? So essentially, so whenever it's going to see this SQL statement, it's first going to see if it has an execution plan in the SQL area or not, right? So if like this select star from whatever the select statement, if it does have a a parse representation of this SQL statement is available in the SQL area or not. If this is available, then it takes that one and try to execute. But if it's not available, then it will create, like the dedicated server is going to compile. It's going to compile this PL/SQL block and then put it in the shared pool, so that if somebody else is coming after this, going to use that one. And then whenever it's going to run this select star from EMP, it's going to check the DB buffer cache. Buffer cache, if it has this data already, then it's going to be a cache hit, and then it's going to be returned the value returned to the variable a. All right. So dedicated server is going to do, like it's going to check this buffer cache, and if it's not there, then it's going to go on and read from the database file and then put into the buffer cache. Okay, so what you are seeing here is that dedicated server is going to do almost everything that is needed to execute this program. So therefore these programs are called the workhorse programs, workhorse processes, and they eventually consumes a lot of CPU. Okay, because they do all the work, right? So they do all the work for the client, so therefore they consume probably the most number of CPU cycle in your server. So this is what dedicated server process this is what the server processes do. And let's take an example. So what I have in my scenario, that so let's change the page size. Okay, so I have a machine, a server that is running on Amazon EC2. On this called Amazon Web Services. So basically Amazon EC2 is a cloud environment where we can get a machine and all these things. So I have a machine on Amazon network. Okay, and let's say that machine name is, so this is a machine name EC2 something like that. Okay, so this is the machine name, and where I have an Oracle 10G Express Edition is installed there. Then what I have is I have my own machine here. So this is my client, which is my laptop. What I'm going to do, I'm going to connect from my client to this machine using oracle.net. So what I have to do, that I have already Oracle client installation is done on my machine. Therefore I can go to my program and go to my Oracle 10G this thing and then go to SQL Plus. So this is my SQL Plus, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a user ID, so demo, and then my host string is DB. Just let me drag it down. Okay, so this is my Oracle server is installed. So sorry, Oracle client. So basically I have connected. So before that I just want to exit one time and just want to show you a couple of things. So let's take a look at So if I run this command, which is process minus ef grep oracle xe. So oracle xe is the server processes that how it is going to be on the Linux machine. Then what I did, I'm going to spit out all the oracle xe running at this point. And let me just give a count how many of them are right now. So I write wc minus l. So it looks like I have 12. Okay, so I have 12 oracle process is running at this point. Okay, the moment I'm going to connect using this client SQL plus, so I'm going to do demo slash xe, sorry, db. Okay, so still is not connected, so now it is connected. So if it's connected, let me try to see like how many things are right now. So if you see, notice that there is one more process that is already started. So what happened? So when I have connected using my using SQL Plus from the client, then one dedicated server process is created to serve this client. Alright, so to serve this client we have a dedicated server process, and then dedicated server process something like oracle xe. Next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a top. So the top command is going to give me what are the which are the processes that is running right now, and then which are the top CPU consuming processes. So at this point, if you see that my 99.7% is idle, there's nothing really going on, and then the top process itself is taking probably 0.0% CPU, 0.1% memory. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to run this PL/SQL block whatever we discussed. Okay, so when I'm going to run this PL/SQL block, let's see what is going to basically because of this PL/SQL process, PL/SQL execution, what's going to happen. So I take Control C and I'm going to run this thing from my machine here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do 10,000 times I'm going to loop. Okay, so if I run this thing, so the process is running right now, and now let's go on and take a look. So if the top command I'm going to give, see, looks like top is consuming almost 56.1%. Okay, so during that time it was consuming almost 50% of your CPU, and right now that has been finished. So right now we have already done 10,000 100,000 times iteration, and if I basically want to run this again, let's say I make it to one more time. Okay, so let's try to see what's going on. Yes, and then I'm going to run this thing. So it's still running. So while it's running, so looks like this Oracle CPU is taking almost 96 or 98% of your CPU, and until this thing is going to finish, it's going to keep running. So now come back to the whiteboard. So this is what we talked, because right now what's going on, your dedicated server process is executing your PL/SQL procedure. Okay, so since the 10,000, it's now increased to 100,000, so essentially this select statement is being executed multiple times. That means for each iteration of the select, dedicated server process is going to check the SQL area, check SQL area for a parsed value of this query, and hopefully because this case it will find, because we have done it just before. Then whatever the results supposed to get is going to check in the DB buffer cache if there is a chance of a cache hit, and in fact it is. In this case we are always going to get, when we have done the first iteration, we must have got the data from the file system to the buffer cache. Consequently, we are going to read from the buffer cache and give it the result back. So essentially, but however, this is going to happen 100,000 times. So this will take some time. I don't know, still it's going on. Okay, still, for example, in my case, it's still the process, the loops are, the PL/SQL procedure is being executed. And then how do I know? If I go to my system, looks like yes, Oracle system is almost taking a lot of CPU and then memory and so on. So this is how basically your server process work and your dedicated server process work to make this thing happen.